Welcome everybody to MC Toon Live. I'm your host, MC Toon. Sorry, I was doing a little homework here. Got something here. Show you in a bit. This is, I'm doing a bit of a review of the debate that Witsit had, I think it was on Saturday, with William, was it William Harris? I tried to email William. I tried to find him. I don't have his contact info. Let's see. Oh, I got it. I got his email. Anyway, William is invited to join. So if anybody knows him, let him know, but I'll send him in a bit. I'll do a little starting up here, and then William can join in. William, it was a pretty good debate. On Modern Day Debate. I enjoyed it pretty good. So anyway, did I watch it? Yes, I did watch it. I didn't watch most of the Q&A. I kind of skipped through a bit of the Q&A. So anyway, so I have let's see, before I get going, a couple things just to announce. I have on Tuesday, Thursday, Cody Payne is going to come and present some stuff on the philosophy of science. There will be a live recording of for the Toon Show podcast. So come along, join live. He'll do a presentation, and then we'll do a little interaction with the audience. And then next week, I have tentatively somebody from Twitter set up who wants to do it on a Twitter Spaces. So we'll see, trying to make that happen. And I'm trying to reschedule with Takori. So we got a few things coming up. So, and Kango44, I saw that you asked Witsit about the debate, or about the Mr. Beast in Antarctica. So I'll talk about, I don't have that ready to go here, but, so I'll talk about that. Yes, you asked about Mr. Beast in Antarctica. Mr. Beast went to Antarctica. He said in the video, the sun never sets. They have clips of Mr. Beast and other people at 4 a.m., at 2:30 a.m., at different times of the day. So, and in both 4 a.m. and 2:30 a.m., you can see the sun. It's not just light out. It's not behind clouds. You can see the sun. Witsit said in response to that, this was great. He lied. That's what Witsit does. He lies. He said they admittedly didn't see the sun. They only saw light. Well, that's wrong. They saw the sun. You can see it on the video. But that doesn't help. It's an obvious escape mechanism, because the flat Earth model that they support, Witsit absolutely. This is Witsit's model right here. He'll say when I ask him, he'll say this isn't it, but he talks at length about this. He says that the North Pole's in the center. He says that Mount Meru is at the center, and that it is what makes compasses point towards the center. He says that Antarctica is a ring around the outside. This is his map, right? The only variation that you could do is maybe slightly move the continents around, but that doesn't really do much for you anyway. So this is his map. So I'll show you where Mr. Beast and his crew were. They were on Union Glacier, which is down there, right? So now at between midnight and 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m., the sun is going to be somewhere directly on the opposite side. And this is, I think it was done probably right around Christmas of a year ago. Christmas of 2022 was about when it was. So late December. So the sun would be very near to over the Tropic of Capricorn. So here's where the sun would be on flat Earth, and here's where they were. Now, at the time they were there, it was midnight. Whenever the sun was directly opposite them, to different time zones, it'll vary that a little bit. But at some point, it was directly opposite them. At that moment, it was dark over all of North America and certainly almost all of South America at local solar midnight. All of it was in darkness, and yet they were closer to the sun. So they were totally dark. So how could you have light behind the clouds even, right? That's their escape. that there were clouds covering it the whole time. There weren't. You could see the sun. But how could you see cloud? How could you have light when you're here farthest away from the sun? Well, they just have to lie and say, oh, daylight isn't from the sun. Yes, it is. Where else is daylight and sun not in sync with each other? It's in sync with each other. Anyway, so he ran from that Kango 4-4. So good question to him. And yes, he says the azimuthal grid of a vision, which is complete and total BS. Another lie from Witsit to support his history of lying. So anyway, so I'm going to play a couple clips. I'm going to do the intro that he gave. And his intro is mostly, as the title of this video, it's mostly Electroplasmawank, which is my name for Witsit and others, attempts at explaining the downward acceleration on the surface of the Earth. So this is his whole intro, which was 12 minutes. I will be interrupting a couple times. So let's see here. Let me get it queued up. So in the meantime, while this plays, I will be sending a Zoom link to oh, not yet. To William. If William's in here, or if somebody knows William, send him a message, get him in live chat, and I'd love to have a little talk with him. So, all right, let me get, I've got it queued up. Let me just get, here it is. All right. And yes, he did get some sunburn. He mentioned that later in the video. He got some pretty serious sunburn. That's serious. Poor guy. I don't pity him that. Anyway, all right, here we go.
For one, I want to see if we're going to keep the same energy of Occam's razor, which is that which requires the least amount of assumptions. That, of course, is terrible.
That which requires the least amount of assumptions. He didn't finish the statement. Occam's razor, the least amount of assumptions, is guidance for how to investigate things. It's no way to determine the truth. You don't just pick the one with the least amount of assumptions and say, that's the one that's true. No, that's the one that you look at investigating first, right? Because it's quite likely to be the one that's closest to where you're looking for what you're looking for. So, but he never finishes it. In fact, a couple other times he mentions Occam's razor, but never once finishes the actual statement of it.
Terrible for the globe model. But one thing I want to cover real quick that can just end this whole entire discussion. It actually overlaps with the gravity thing. He said gravity is mass attracting mass, which is objectively not the case anymore. It can't.
Well, it objectively always was the case within our inertial reference frame. And that's so people that don't understand relativity do like to make claims about relativity. It's a straw man because that's not his model. Witsit, that's not your model, Witsit. It's somebody else's model, and you're misrepresenting it, right? So within our inertial reference frame, the law of gravitational attraction is correct. Now, there are times where Williams says it's wrong. And so I'd like to make a clarification there. It's not wrong. It's not complete. So at high velocity, at high mass, the margin of error gets bigger. So in that sense, it's incorrect. But it takes an awful lot. So the orbit of Mercury is one example where the law of gravitational attraction is very, very close, but it's not as close as we can measure. We can measure the orbit of Mercury closer than necessary to identify that there is a discrepancy using simply the law of gravity. So there you need you can't use the reduced form of it. I'll show you if you want a reference, mctoon.net/Einstein. Yeah, there it is. mctoon.net/Einstein. I have here. So I have 4 citations here where they work through from Einstein's field equations, showing how it reduces to Newtonian gravity. So when we use Newtonian gravity, we are using Einstein's field equations with specific use cases. Low mass, low velocity. It's perfectly valid. There's no reason not to use it in those use cases unless you need 15 digits of precision or wherever that goes, right? PhD Tony says we use Newton's law of gravitation all the time in satellite orbit calculations, and it gives accurate results. That's right, because you don't need how many digits of precision in those. So, and this right here, just go ahead, mctoon.net/Einstein. If you think this is wrong, flatties, go ahead. Run through the process here to show that there was an error made if you think they're wrong. Lacking that, the law of gravitational attraction within our use case, our inertial reference frame, is valid. It's correct to the number of digits that we normally need. So, and Tinker Phil says he went on to the channel Matters Now after the debate for the after show. Have to go watch that, then the show they did after looking the papers he gave them. So I did watch almost all of that show, the after show on Matters Now. Tomorrow night they are doing the next one. They're reviewing the papers that Witsit put up, and I've reviewed all of the papers that he put up already. None of them were new, and typical woo peddlers, they'll find a couple things that support them, and then they play the appeal to authority on them. Like, oh, well, this guy is a PhD. He's a PhD. Konstantin Mies is a PhD. He sits on the board of nuclear physics. And you'll hear Witsit talk about that. That's all appeal to authority. Right? He wrote a paper. Okay. Is there empirical evidence for it? If not, it's just a paper and it shall be evaluated. But just because he's a PhD, just because he sits on some board, does not make him right. So, let's see. Rudolph says, bro, it's 97% wrong because dark energy, as if our model is a TOE, not just globe. What is a TOE? I don't know what TOE is. But yeah, Witsit, your model is 100% wrong. And why is that, Witsit? Why is your model 100% wrong? Let me see if I can get Witsit to answer that question. Hold on. There it is. Austin Witsit, why is your model wrong?
We don't have a model.
That's why your model's wrong. Your model can predict exactly nothing. And if your model can predict nothing, then you don't have a model at all. If your model doesn't have any plausible mechanisms for why things happen, you don't have a model yet. We will get to that a little bit. Oh, theory of everything. Okay, got it. So Rudolph says, bro, it's 97% wrong because dark energy, as if our model is a theory of everything, not just the globe. Okay, that makes sense. Yes. When asking the question is what shape is the Earth, dark matter, dark energy doesn't matter, right? Because that's a whole different realm, and having dark matter, dark energy not be understood isn't anything to do with the necessary shape of the Earth. Like if we don't understand that, it doesn't fall back to Earth flat. It still falls back to Earth globe. It doesn't invalidate any of that. All it does is it says there are fringes of not fringes, the edges of science where we don't have everything understood. That's the point of science. Science is constantly going and finding the places where we don't understand everything and trying to figure it out. Vera Rubin and Fritzi found that the rotation of galaxies was different than what we had predicted. Okay. There are things that we don't understand millions of light years away. So Austin, if you're going to say something about millions of light years away is wrong, then all of the other things before that aren't wrong, right? All of the things before that are very likely right. Then that next thing we don't yet understand. It's not that it's wrong. It's that we don't have an understanding of it. All of those things before it are right. So for you to talk about the galactic rotational problem, you are affirming that the Earth is a globe, because that's a necessary part of that. So, all right, let's get back to this.
Can't be the case. The Earth quite literally cannot be a ball that orbits the sun with mass attracting mass. Newtonian mechanics can't exist. And I'm sure we'll get into that.
Be very aware. He says that Newtonian mechanics cannot exist because of whatever, right? Will he later cite Newtonian mechanics? We shall see.
And I don't know why people keep invoking it. But one thing I want to point out that I think is an easy way to kind of go ahead and end the conversation is we have an electric field on the Earth. Okay. So we have a uniform electric field. It's vertical on the Earth, and you can measure the electric field, right? It has equipotential lines.
Now he has no citations of the measurements of the electrical field.
It's 100 volts per meter, meaning there's an equal increase of potential every 100 or every meter. It's 100 volts, right?
That is not right. That is in fact not right. Now his citation for this is Feynman's lectures on physics, specifically section 9 here. I'll paste it in. Electricity in the atmosphere, 9-1. He actually mentions this section by name later. And so this is from Feynman. It's good stuff. Here's an interesting thing. Witsit just said it's consistent and it's the same, but here's the voltage, the actual voltage. It averages about 100, but it dips below 90 and goes up to about 120 throughout the day. At the same time every day globally. So it's not based on where you are in relation to the sun. This varies. It's not a perfect variation, but it varies globally throughout the day and this is GMT. So at 1800 GMT it peaks. 6 p.m. GMT it peaks, which is 6 a.m., 12 time zones away. And he goes on to explain why that happens in this here. It's pretty cool. I won't get into that. So it's not perfectly consistent, as Witsit just said.
Right. So there's equipotential lines within a vertical electric field on the Earth, and it's uniform.
Not uniform. Literally, his citation says it's not uniform. So, and then I'll do one more thing here. Right here at the end, he mentions 9.1, and he actually reads this section right here in a minute, right? But this section right here, he completely neglects. So here you go. Measurements show. Now, there are measurements that Feynman references. Witsit didn't look at them. Fine. The field continues to exist, but gets weaker. As one goes up to high altitudes. By about 50 kilometers, the field is very small, so most of the potential charge is at, the integral of E is at lower altitudes. The total potential differential from the surface to the top of the atmosphere is about 400,000 volts. So it's not, as he said, the same. It's not uniform.
Okay, this is physically impossible on a sphere.
That's also not the case.
You can take a conductive sphere and put it in an electric field, and because the charge is distributed radially, it will not be uniform.
But it totally does match with something that gets weaker as you get farther away from the surface. He's not that bright.
Is a fact. You cannot have a uniform electric field on a sphere.
So what he's doing here, and if you have a little bit of background in electronics, he's beginning to describe a capacitor. So you can actually have a uniform field in a with a sphere. You'd have a second surface above it somewhere, but it's not uniform, so it doesn't matter.
So the very electric field we observe on the Earth proves that the Earth is in fact not a sphere.
That's a lie.
Because again, there will be spherical radial distribution of charge.
Which is what we observe.
Is concentric circles serving as your or equipotential surfaces or lines, and then you would not have a uniform electric field. Now,
good job. Thank you, Witsit, for proving the globe. Once again, first law of Flurf confirmed.
Just to read Feynman here to explain it.
All right, here we go.
Another thing that can be measured in addition to the potential gradient that we just discussed is the current in the atmosphere. The current density is small, about 10 microamps crosses each square meter parallel to the Earth. The air is evidently not a perfect insulator, and because of this conductivity, a small current caused by the electric field we have just been describing passes from the sky down to the Earth. Okay, and you can measure it. You can run a generator off of it, actually. Now, the question would be, if there's constantly a downward electric current on the Earth, would that create a downward bias?
No, it would not. It's not a downward current. That's the other all right, a downward. So it is this. Wait, hold on. It is a downward current, and the reason why it's important to get into this here. Why is there a downward current? Right. So and it's very small. And he says you can run a generator off of it. You can. It's not much of a generator, but you can. The small current caused by the electric field passes from the sky down to the Earth. So the cause of it, let's see. There it is. All right. It's caused by cosmic rays. So ionization is evidently be produced by something from outside the Earth. The investigation of this source led to the discovery of cosmic rays. We'll not discuss the subject of cosmic rays now, except to say that they maintain a supply of ions, are being swept away all the time. The new ones being created by the cosmic ray particles coming from the outside. So this is Witsit citation. This is in section 9-2, the 1, 2, it's 2 paragraphs after what he just read. Just 2 paragraphs after what he read, it explains what they're coming from. They're cosmic rays from outside the Earth. Somewhere outside the Earth, these cosmic rays must be coming from. Witsit, your own citation.
Would downward electric pressure be caused by the downward electric current? The answer is, of course, yes.
No,
yes,
not
we
at
would
all.
have a downward bias because there's always a downward electric current.
No.
To get more
not at all
specific, although the electric current density in the air is only a few microamps per square meter, there are very many square meters on the Earth's surface. The total electric current reaching the Earth's surface at any time is very nearly constant at 1800 amps.
So it doesn't matter. This is a, I don't know what you want to call this, a red herring, right? The entire amperage of the entire Earth doesn't matter, because when you're looking at one particular thing, a person or a car or a feather, all it matters is that area there. The rest of the Earth doesn't matter. It's only the charged field that object is in. That's all that matters.
This current, of course, is quote unquote positive. It carries a plus charge to the Earth. We have a voltage supply of 400,000 volts with a current of 1800 amps, a power of 700 megawatts at any given time. Now, that's assuming the size of the Earth, it's actually greater than that. So to kind of break this.
He just made a claim. It's actually greater than that.
You make a positive claim of specificity, you have the burden of proof of specificity.
That's right, Austin. You have the burden of proof. You have to show the measurements of the surface of the Earth being bigger than that. Something you won't do.
This down. I hope everyone's following. People refer to the fact that things fall as gravity. That is allegedly the effect of gravity. That is little g. It is 9.8 meters per second squared. That is not gravity. as in the cause of things going down. It is things going down. You can actually solve for that with kinematic equation.
Okay, now I hinted at this in the previous live stream, the kinematic equation. So kinematic equation is one way that you can measure the acceleration. There's 4 kinematic equations. They have different variables in them. You look at the things that you have, you pick the equation that matches the things you have and the thing you want to solve for. So if you're going to solve for the acceleration, and you know the initial velocity and the ending velocity of an object, then you use the kinematic equation that matches that. This is not a causal thing. Kinematics don't address forces. They don't address the cause. It's just it's kind of it's an entry level. It's like the derivative of the cause, sort of. If you're going to talk about that, you need to get to the next level up to talk about causes. Kinematic is never causes. He talks about it a lot as if it's a cause. So when you hear him say kinematic, I want you to understand he is fooling his people into thinking that that's the cause. He wants them to buy what he's saying, thinking that he's providing an explanation when he's not.
You can actually solve for that using Coulomb's law. There's an equivalence that has been proven in the electromagnetic nature of gravity, a paper written by Constantine Mice.
Proven. How is it proven? Okay. Of course, in science, things aren't proven. But let's give him his a definition of prove that's maybe what he's meaning, like a large amount of evidence supporting something, right? That could be what you mean, what he means by proven. So let's see if we can see what there might be, right? Empirical evidence supporting something.
Nature of gravity, a paper written by Constantine Mice. Going down. You can actually solve for that with kinematic equation. You can actually solve for that using Coulomb's law. There's an equivalence that has been proven in the electromagnetic nature of gravity, a paper written by Constantine Mice.
Okay, so he says that the equivalence has been proven because of a paper. Now I've read the paper. The paper didn't do any empirical measurements. Didn't have an experiment in it. It's strictly hypothetical, which is perfectly fine. That's what you do in science. You have you write your hypothesis. That's this kind of paper, was outputting a hypothesis. And then you look at, you go do some experiments, or you could reference some experiments. Now that paper didn't prove anything. It just made claims about this equivalence. But it's important. This is important to note. That particular paper, and I can get it. That particular paper does not support Witsit. It doesn't support flat Earth. It doesn't support a local sun, a small universe. It does not support mass not attracting mass. It doesn't actually do much good for him at all. I love that he always likes to reference it. But let me see. And I think it's Constantine Meis, M-E-I-S. I could be wrong though, but let's see. I have the paper. It might be M-I-E-S. Yeah, you might think by the way he says it that it's spelled M-I-C-E. It's not. So, dog, I was actually just reading it today on a different computer. So, all right, well, I'll leave that off for now. I'll just tell you, the paper is proposing a cause for let me get this fixed here, and then I'll switch this. All right, the paper is proposing a cause for for mass-to-mass attraction other than the what Einstein proposed. He's proposing that it is at a lower level, that it's electrical somehow. But the paper asserts that mass still attracts mass. It's the first law of Flerf. It completely contradicts Witsit's position. If you accept the paper, which there's lots of problems with the paper, but if you accept the paper, it says mass attracts mass. Also, the paper talks about anti-gravity being... it talks about... what is it? It's antimatter. There it is. Antimatter is then repelled by matter. So that's in the paper there. And so rather than matter and antimatter attracting, matter and antimatter repel. So that's in the paper. It's hypothetical. That's his proposed mechanism for the replacement for dark energy. So Witsit's paper that he's citing says mass attracts mass, and the reason why the universe is expanding is because of gravity repelling between matter and antimatter. So, all right, some people asking, right? Do I have a link to it? Okay. I will get it. Let's see if I can. There it is. The electromagnetic nature of gravitation and matter, antimatter, anti-gravity, surmise on quantum vacuum gravitation and cosmology. So even the title, you know, reading the title, it's not going to go well for Witsit. Eddie Reese says, I am patient with stupidity, but not with those who are proud of it. Edith Sitwell. Yeah. All right. I put the DOI link in there. There it is. All right. I'll grab it. I will pull it up and we can look at it live right here. There it is. So there it is. I'm not gonna. It's 20 pages. I'm not gonna go over the whole thing. But the electromagnetic, we show that the electromagnetic quantum vacuum derives directly from Maxwell's theory and plays a primary role in quantum electrodynamics, particle physics, gravitation, and cosmology. Corresponds to the electromagnetic field ground state at zero frequency, a zero energy cosmic field permeating all of space and its composed real states. This all sounds decent so far. Called keenons. Now this is something he made up. So this is what some people would take issue with who are reading this and I don't know, you're kind of off in the weeds here. I don't know, don't care. For this discussion, this is Witsit's citation. His citation says these things. Let's see what his citation says. It says the equivalence between Newton's gravitational law and Coulomb's electrostatic law results naturally. In addition, we show that gravitational constant G is expressed explicitly through electromagnetic quantum vacuum constants, putting in evidence the electromagnetic nature of gravity. Now, none of this says that mass doesn't attract mass. It's just giving a different mechanism for it. That's all it is. It doesn't matter. If mass attracts mass, a flat disk will collapse into a sphere. This says mass attracts mass. We draw that G is the same for matter and antimatter, but gravitational forces should be repulsive between particles and antiparticles because their masses bear naturally opposite signs. So he's assigning signs to matter, to mass. The electromagnetic quantum vacuum appears to be a natural link between quantum electrodynamics, particle physics, gravitation, and cosmology, and constitutes a basic step towards unified field theory. Right? He's trying to do a unified TOE. Right? Dark energy and dark matter might originate from the electromagnetic quantum vacuum fluctuation calculation. I'm looking for. There it is. The cosmic acceleration may be due to both quantum vacuum fluctuations and matter-antimatter gravitational repelling. So he's proposing a mechanism for the expansion of the universe. This does not help you, Witsit. Right? It's not a good thing for Witsit, right? Now, whether or not I agree with this paper or physicists agree with this paper doesn't matter. This is Witsit's citation. He thinks is correct. I don't know. Doesn't do you any good there, Witsit, but do keep citing this, please. It destroys you every time. It's first law of Flurf to the bottom.
Who sat on the board of Nuclear Physics Institute, right? That you can actually have an equivalence with electrostatics. Now, important to note, everything does not fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. That is a misnomer. People are taught everything falls at the.
All right, so here he is. He's deceiving people a little bit. He's playing a little bit of a semantics game. Everything accelerates downward at 9.8 meters per second squared, but it doesn't fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. Semantics games doesn't change reality. There are other forces at play on objects. So yeah, the total fall acceleration is not 9.8 because those other things are in there. But the acceleration is 9.8 about. It varies. So he's totally missing that. So yeah, helium balloon has more buoyancy, which is a direct result of gravity, than downward acceleration because of gravity. And again, when I say gravity, I'm not playing semantics games. I mean, within our reference frame, gravity as expressed by Einstein's field equations solved for our reference frame. So
the same rate, and mass attracts mass. It's a very simple layman way to explain things to people when they're younger in school. The reality is things fall at different rates. What a coincidence that the electric field creating the electric current is very nearly constant, just like the rate at which things fall. So that right there explains things falling on the earth and why there's a downward bias, why it's nearly constant, but it fluctuates. Gravimeters have proven that things fall at different rates during thunderstorms, and mass and quote unquote gravity have been excluded as a possible explanation.
That's a lie. And right there we have another lie. This, if you watched my video where I called him out for being a grandiose narcissist and a pathological liar, this was at the core of that. So Witsit was desperately searching to find gravimeters being affected by electromagnetic changes, like in the vicinity of a storm. And he asked ChatGPT to produce it for him. And ChatGPT does what you ask it to do. It gives you what looks like an answer based on the input it has previously been given. So it gave a listing of citations that looked like citations talking about variations in gravimeters in the vicinity of electrical storms. But they weren't correct. None of them were correct. I can pull up I did a lot of work for that one. So I'll bring that up here. Witsit caught lying one. So here is the the email that he sent to Bryant Myers, and you see these citations here: Voigt, ID, Schilling, thunderstorm effects on a relative gravimeter. All of these citations here were generated by ChatGPT, and he's asking Bryant to find them, and he even says, "Here are some papers I have tracked down thus far." That's right. So he does say, and I don't know if it's this one now, I finally tracked down the papers about thunderstorms affecting gravimeter readings and downward acceleration rates. So most are behind a paywall or institutional access. Now, the reality is none of these existed. So he didn't go somewhere, find it. He didn't go to these DOI links, find the citation, and then say, you need to pay to get here. He clicked these DOI links and got 404 errors. This page does not exist. That's not a paywall. I don't know if he even clicked him or not, but he lied about this. So, and yeah, I love this one. It's a little hard to read, but look at the formatting. Look at the formatting here. That alternating color, those stripes. That's because he copy pasted from ChatGPT without removing the formatting. He did it without removing the formatting. All right, you want to look at it here. He's such a lying scum. Here, I'll give you that. Yeah, all right. There's the link if you want to look at it. You don't need to. The point isn't reading this. You could read this. It's funny, but this is he had prompted ChatGPT to show the gravitational and electrical equivalence between gravity and Coulomb's law, and ChatGPT output something that looked very much like an answer, but it was completely wrong. All of the algebra was wrong. But all right, this is again, you cannot rebut it. It's hilarious. There's nothing to rebut. You didn't have any evidence. Anyway, you haven't even read the paper. You're telling me it's trash. Basically, haha, dude, his credentials blows yours out of the water. So he's doing the credential fallacy or appeal to authority. The guy so obsessed with credentials, that's Witsit, suddenly says it doesn't matter. So really, it's just that you're a narcissist. So he's projecting. Anyway, this is what does he call this here? Oh yeah. So that previous list of papers I gave you, he says the papers got jumbled up and I was given improper links for them and could not find the papers. So I was trying to see if you could find them. They were from ChatGPT. They did not get jumbled up. He's telling a lie to cover his lie. Anyway, that paper dunks on you. No. Anyway, there are many explanations for G other than your fairy tale physics. Actually, it's not a good one, but fine. Anyway, so this is, I know it's hard to read. It doesn't matter. You can look it up yourself. That's ChatGPT's attempt to take Coulomb's law, the first line there, F equals Q, K, Q1, Q2 over R squared. And then the bottom, then it goes down here and you can see F of G. All right, that's the gravitational law. And it plays this equivalency thing here. And the algebra is wrong. But because it's ChatGPT, it's just making it look right. And it does look right if you don't analyze it. So, all right. That's, all right. That's enough for now on that one.
I have all of these papers. I'll drop them as they're requested. In addition, so that gets rid of the spherical claim. You cannot have a uniform vertical electric field with equipotential surfaces on a sphere.
Okay, remember that was the incorrect claim that he made earlier. They're not the same. The fields get weaker with elevation.
It's physically impossible. That gives you the downward electric bias that's measurable, showing things fall and change at which rate they fall based on that objectively. So now you're going to have to claim there's something additional there that you can't verify, but we can actually verify. Right, that gives you the downward explanation. I have all of these papers. I'll drop them as they're requested. In addition, so that gets rid of the spherical claim. You cannot have a uniform vertical electric field with equipotential surfaces on a sphere. That's physically impossible. That gives you the downward electric bias that's measurable, showing things fall and change at which rate they fall based on that objectively.
Objectively not. None of that was supported by evidence. He did have one paper, in fact, that he found, one or two. And let's see, is it on here? I think it might be on this interaction here. He did find a couple. Yeah, that's not it. Oh yeah, I asked ChatGPT to do the same thing. I got all of these citations ChatGPT output for me on the same topic. Yeah, there's my screen there. You can see. So, all right, the paper, I don't know. I don't know if I can find at this moment. All right, I won't get into it. He did provide 1 or 2 papers talking about variations in the downward acceleration in the vicinity of thunderstorms. And the variation was extremely small and completely predicted by the variation in the magnitude of water near the gravimeter. And I think it was that the downward acceleration was reduced when there is a large thunderstorm nearby. That's because there's more water in the air. There's more mass up in the vicinity of the thunderstorm. After the thunderstorm, then the downward acceleration increases because in the vicinity around there's more water in the ground. So it's not just dry dirt, it's wet dirt with additional water in it. So it actually goes up. So it's all completely matching mass attracting mass. Peachy Tony says very precise gravimeters do detect air pressure variations due to storms. Yes. So air pressure variations will cause more or less air in the vicinity. So I think the water in the air changed somewhere down around 12 digits deep. So gravimeters in the 70s were accurate to 9 digits, I believe, Tony. But now newer ones are 12 to 15 digits accurate or precise. So Mr. E-Man says, I appear to still be getting a checksum error, CRC SES. I don't know. All right, anyway, I'll keep going here.
So now you're going to have to claim there's something additional there that you can't verify, but we can actually verify our position based
It's first law of Flurf again.
on empirical evidence. Let's use Occam's razor. Remember that which...
Yep, absolutely. Good idea. Occam's razor, it's confirmed that the mass changed the magnitude and not confirmed that the changes in the electrical field. Got it.
Requires the least amount of assumptions. So we're just going to go with the actual evidence. And also, in order to have a vertical electric field with equipotential lines, you actually are going to have what's called a Gaussian surface. And to quickly explain that, and we can get into it, in Gauss's law, you have what's called Gaussian surfaces, and typically they're used as mathematical or hypothetical constructs. But when you're making a...
Yes. And so he's about to explain, because he's talked about Gaussian surfaces for a year or more, and he spoke about them as if they were physical things. But you use them when you're doing the math. They're strictly hypothetical things for the math. But he got caught out doing that. But he can't retract. He can't undo those many, many times that he claimed Gaussian surfaces were physical plates. He's describing a capacitor here by a physical capacitor. So he has to now justify making a hypothetical thing just for calculations into an actual physical claim of reality.
Mathematical or hypothetical constructs, but when you're making a physical demonstration of say a uniform electric field, you're going to need real physical plates to serve as those surfaces, right? No. And they have to be parallel to each other and they have to be perpendicular to the field. Well, on the Earth, we have a vertical electric field. So what is perpendicular to vertical? It is, of course, horizontal. So in order to have the actual equipotential electric field we have, there has to be some type of containment above us. It has to be parallel to the surface, and it has to actually be horizontal.
So he's trying to describe a dome firmament, but now it's not a dome. It's a plane. So he's now described that this plane has to be there. But remember his citation here, which is Feynman Lectures, says that it and Austin knows this because Bryant has pointed this out to him many times. He says measurements show the field continues to exist but gets weaker and it stops about 50 kilometers. So Witsit is by his citation, the plane dome firmament that he's talking about now has to be 50 kilometers up. That's not really that high. So it's not working. That's not going to go well for you, Witsit.
This is just facts. So that argument right there, that fact alone, gets rid of the spherical geometry claim. It gets rid of
All
the
these
quote
are not
unquote
facts.
gravity claim, and it gets rid of the we live in a ball. I'll live on a ball in a vacuum claim. Okay, that's 6 minutes, and we can get into that. And again, this is Feynman Lectures. It's 9.1, I believe, and it's about atmospheric electricity. You can check it. You can check the measurements yourself. You can go out and verify yourself, and you can run generators off of it. So for the last few minutes, what I'm going to do is cover a couple things that he said. Retrograde motion is not exclusive to the Earth orbiting the sun. In fact, in order to think that it was, you would have to not believe in the current model, which uses relativity and actually says there's a kinematic equivalence between a geocentric stationary position and a heliocentric model.
Remember, I mentioned kinematic. So kinematic offers no mechanism. It just says, well, we can do the math, the low-level math on this for velocity and acceleration. Not the force that causes it, not any mechanism for it, but we can do it's like a coordinate transform for things that move, right? So you can take a globe and you could do a coordinate transform on it to a different coordinate system, but it doesn't change the physical shape of it. So I've actually, I'm going to take an aside here because got a couple super chats. I don't want to get too far. Mark Beiser says, but he said big words. He are smart. Exactly. Sounds like the Packlids. Nerd Alert says gravimetry needs to be in a container. Of course. And then Free Rebel 626 says Christianity is a grift machine. Well, Witsit's not even a Christian. I don't know how that applies here. So, I don't know. Thank you for that, though. So, let's go back.
Meaning all planetary motion, all geometric patterns are equivalent in both models. They're equally valid.
Kinematically, but not by offering plausible mechanisms that cause things to happen.
Einstein will tell you this point blank in all of his papers. He said it. So there's kinematics, how bodies move in relation to each other, and there's dynamics, which is the supposed force that causes them to move that way.
But there is not a dynamics equivalence, just a kinematic equivalence. Thank you.
Okay, gravity would be the claimed dynamics, and then kinematics is just how they move. Retrograde would be a kinematic observation, right? The planets look like they go backwards. Now, of course,
now this is why he is what he is, because he's crafting this thing for his followers. He's building this structure for them to love and to adore, all of this kinematic equivalence stuff. He talks about dynamics, calls gravity, he adds things like supposed or claimed, right, on top of the dynamics that where the actual forces are involved. But he's like, oh, I already addressed them. I'm going to come right back around to the kinematic one. The one that doesn't offer a plausible mechanism, doesn't include any forces. It's important for the lie that he's building.
Stationary Earth, there are multiple explanations, one of which is we measure the planets in relation to the background stars. So if the planets were to actually just slow down on occasion, they would look from our perspective to be going backwards in relation to the background stars.
The background stars don't move like that. They move extremely slowly. So a planet slowing down would not get retrograde. So retrograde is where a planet appears to change direction for a while and then come back around. And we'll see later, William has a graphic of that.
There's a much more popular one that's been known about for a long time, which comes from the Tychonic system. That's Tycho Brahe, which is where Kepler and everyone even got their data in the first place, right? And Tycho Brahe, or a neo-Tychonic system, would say that the planets move around the sun as that entire system moves around the Earth. Then you would have the exact same explanation that a heliocentric model has, which is it looks like they're going backwards because they're moving in relation to the sun, right? And then you have internal planets, etc.
So what he just described, the Tychonic model, so you know, the Tychonic model is that the Earth is a globe, and it has the radius that we say it is, and that rather than the Earth orbiting the sun, that the sun orbits the Earth. That's the Tychonian model. The sun is a distance of 93 million miles away. The sun's size is the size that we say. The sun's mass is the mass that we say. That's the foundation of the Tychonian model. Now, the original model was all circles. Then they added epicycles. Then they found that the epicycles weren't enough, and they added more epicycles. So an epicycle is them doing like these little flowery patterns, right? And that's where you lose. That's where you lose the plausible mechanism, the causation. So if Mars is doing loops in a flower pattern around the sun while the sun is orbiting the Earth, why is it doing that? What's causing it to do those loops? You can do your kinematic equivalence, but that doesn't answer with a why. Why is it doing that? And so when people were looking at the Tychonian model back when it was current, they said it doesn't make sense. Why? And so they were unsatisfied with it. And that's why Copernicus came up with the what we call the Copernican model, named after him. It's spirographs. so that's what it does, these spiral graphs. Why? No reason. And that's very important. There's no plausible mechanism for it.
There's a kinematic equivalence with retrograde that isn't exclusive to the Earth.
You just can't stop saying that.
Flying around the sun whatsoever. And in fact, the Mercury's perihelion shift shows you that their model doesn't even work.
In fact, that's wrong again.
Gravity doesn't even work. And it still hasn't been explained to this day.
Has been explained. Why do you have to lie, Austin? We have an explanation for it. It matches. Just saying it doesn't work. See, that's his lie. Who's his audience here? He knows his audience, at least. Credit where it's due. He knows his audience. The people that pay him to do what he does are his audience. They're not going to go and find out that there is an actual explanation for it. Einstein spoke of it in this book right here, in fact. And Witsit has read portions of this book. He's quoted portions of this book. The law of gravitational attraction does not work, and I said it before, to the precision that we're able to measure Mercury's orbit position. There's small discrepancies within our measurement precision. Now, before we could measure things to that precision, we would not know, but we did. In the 1700s, we were able to measure somewhere in there. Maybe it was later. There's my shirt. Star Wars. The only good Star Wars. All right. So, yeah. So that there was a discrepancy discovered in the perihelion of Mercury. So perihelion is the farthest point as it goes around its orbit. It's not circular, it's an ellipse. And that the position of that ellipse moved differently than gravity predicted. So if you remember, you've probably heard this before, Neptune was discovered because of Uranus's orbit was slightly perturbed. And astronomers that were examining that said, well, there appears to us to be another object of mass that's causing that to happen. And they were using Newton's law of gravitation and Kepler's laws of orbital motion to test this. And then they said, well, we think there's another planet here. On this day, point your telescope here. They did. They found it. Two different people found it independently. Did the math independently and said, here's our prediction. Go look. And they looked and said, yes, we found it. So that's at the core of science, a hypothesis test, and it passed. confirming just this whole line of everything that you had to do to get there is confirmed in that. It confirms the elliptical orbit of Uranus. It confirms the law of gravitational attraction. It confirms Kepler's laws of motion. If any of those things were wrong, that prediction would not have worked. It worked. That's confirmation. That's beautiful science. So Mercury's orbit was weird. People said, well, maybe there's a planet that we haven't yet found. They did the same kind of thing. They said, well, they even gave it a name. They called it Vulcan. In the end, they could not find Vulcan. And instead, when Einstein wrote, general relativity published in 1915, actually before that, he had been using it, and it explains Mercury's orbit. So how does that work? It works very well. So now what they will claim is they'll say that's not a prediction, that's a postdiction. So yeah, it is, but it's still valid, right? So when you propose a hypothesis, it needs to fit. If it doesn't fit the existing things, then you without even doing anything, it's very unlikely to be correct. So when you're putting something forward that's going to improve upon or replace, then it's going to have to predict all of those things. So anything that replaced whatever Einstein was replacing in 1915 must work with other things. And bonus, if it works with things that the previous versions of understandings did not work with, right? So, all right.
Okay, and we'll get more into this stuff hopefully, but lunar eclipses, he said that the only shape that can have that is a sphere. You can, of course, put anything in front of something that's taking some type of spherical shape, which could be plasma. If you look at light from a distance, it looks like a sphere, right? It has a radius of light. So any light source from a distance is going to look like a sphere because it has a radius of light, right? Illumination. Same with the planets and everything, but...
So that didn't explain the shadow on the moon. So I didn't have this in here, but Williams said that the circular shape of the shadow on the moon is confirmation that the Earth is a globe, because the shadow it casts is a circle. So very true. The only shape that always casts a circular shadow is a sphere. Now you can cast a circular shadow using a cylinder or a disc, but only at the right angle, not at all angles, which doesn't work because no matter where the moon is in its when it's eclipsed, it's the same pattern. But I mean, think about what would it need to be for for a disc to cast a shadow on the moon that's circular. Well, the disc would have to be vertical, like this. I'll just draw it and make it like this. And you've got the moon over here, right? So that would make a circular shadow here. But then the sun would have to be over here. So the entirety of flat Earth would have to be in darkness, and the bottom of flat Earth would be facing the sun. So that doesn't explain it, Austin. The question is, how does a lunar eclipse work on flat Earth? And so he just made a bunch of garbage to avoid answering the question. So I'll ask Austin again. Austin, what causes the shadow on the moon during a lunar eclipse? Why is it a circle? What causes it? And of course, I will insist on evidence. And if you don't have evidence, then I'm going to just remind you of what this guy said.
You do understand, again, that positive claims require the burden of proof.
Well, yep. If you're going to say it's Rahu or Ketu, I'm going to say this.
You have the burden of proof of specificity of your specific claim.
If you don't
so you can't shift the burden of proof. That's called a shifting the burden of proof fallacy.
And if you don't have that, then it's a religion. And Austin...
What do you mean by religion?
A belief system built upon the doctrine of men void of empirical verifiable evidence.
So if you don't have empirical verifiable evidence, then it's just a religious claim that Rahu and Ketu are in it. But now listen to the standard flurf deflection from the absolute unanswerable problem for flat Earth of lunar eclipses. But type in the chat, what's it going to be? I mean, you know what it is if you've been around.
That aside, you could take a cylinder and move it in front of the moon, and it would create a circular shadow. This has been replicated many
So now the flat Earth is a cylinder, and to think about what he's implying here.
times. If you've never heard of it, it may sound unfamiliar to you, but it is a fact. You can take any shape and move it in front of it and cause the circular shadow. And actually, lunar eclipses debunk the globe, as we have selenium.
So he did not provide the explanation, but yeah, you're hearing what he's gonna lie about now.
Eclipses where the sun and the moon are both above the Earth during the eclipse, when supposedly the Earth is blocking the light from the sun, casting a shadow onto the moon, which is a geometric impossibility.
It's not a geometric impossibility, of course. There's another lie, Austin. Not only is that predicted on the Earth, on the globe, but it's also, hold on, I'm pulling something up. The location, this is beautiful. The location where the eclipse will be seen is predicted by the globe. And I'm going to bring this up. FlatEarth.ws is fantastic. I'll link that in there for everybody. There you go. So here is, and this is of course not to scale, way off into the distances where the sun is. And of course it's not that small, or the moon and the sun. This is not meant to be to scale. So first of all, you're on the edge of the Earth, and so you can look straight out from both sides. So even without refraction, there's nothing in the way. They're both way out there, many sheep lengths away. So you can see far. Nothing's blocking it, so no problem at all. But then secondly, you get a little bit of refraction with the air. It's predicted by the globe. So it's not impossible by the globe, it's predicted on the globe. The other thing is, and this is a problem for flat Earth. Flat Earthers, using flat Earth, where will the selenilion be seen? I can tell you on the globe where it will be seen. You take the GP of the sun and the GP of the moon. So let's just make it for convenience. One's here, one's on the opposite side, right? And so where will potentially you see the selenilion? Halfway. So anywhere underneath this is where the selenilion will be seen. On flat Earth, where will it be? Does it make any sense on flat Earth? Well, no, of course not. Let's get, there it is. Okay. Let's say that there is a, I don't know, it doesn't really matter too much, but we're going to put the sun there, and the moon opposite that. It's sort of works, but it doesn't make sense in reality. So I'll put them here and here, right? So I have too many dots on here. I'm going to use this one and this one. So where will they potentially be seen on flat Earth? I mean, we can do it, but there's no plausible mechanism again. So you're gonna draw a line that's you're gonna connect the two, and then draw a perpendicular line through the equator there. So that line would be where you could see the selenilion. But why? But it doesn't make sense. That's where you actually would see it. But why would people here see it on flat Earth, where there's nothing between you and the sun and nothing between you and the moon? Why would they see it, but not over here? Right? Here's Perth. Here's Sydney. Why would you not see it in Sydney? Because nothing is between you and the sun and you and the moon. You would see it everywhere. You would see the Selenalian eclipse everywhere on flat Earth. The fact that you don't see it everywhere on flat Earth every time is evidence that the Earth is not flat, because it doesn't work. It would have to be visible everywhere. But again, it's the desperation. It's the lie that he was instructed to by those that came before him.
This is another time where we'll throw Occam's razor out, I'm sure, because Occam's razor is the globe's worst enemy. North Star cannot be seen from super far south. That's correct, because you can't see forever on a flat Earth. And whenever all these things were called predictions from the globe.
So, can't see forever. The problem is, of course, that it's not just that it fades out into nothingness. Right? Now, why can't you see forever on flat Earth? No mechanism is provided. Right? From everybody that I've ever spoken to and all of the physics that I understand, if there's nothing between you and the other object, you're going to see it, especially if it's a light source, like a star. So why? No, nothing offered. Okay, this next part is great.
They're actually just, we looked at the sky, we recorded it over hundreds or even thousands of years, and then we crafted a globe Earth model based on the celestial observations.
That's science.
That's quite literally how we made it. So that would be the opposite of prediction.
That's science. That's how you build a model in science.
That would quite literally be the opposite. So if you...
And then what you do is once you've done that, you predict future events. Right? Now, if it's the exact same thing repeating and it's identical to the previous one, that's not very impressive. But if it's different, then that's impressive.
Say, hey, look, I'm going to look at all the sky and then make up a model in my head of the Earth being a globe. Then I'm going to say, hey, look, the globe predicts what happens in the sky.
Now, Witsit, you could do the same thing for flat Earth. That would be how you would do science for flat Earth. You look at things in the sky and you figure out what that means. You put together some geometry for it. You say, well, here's the optics for it. Here's the physics for it. Now we have a model. Now we can make a prediction. For example, when the next eclipse will be, where the next eclipse will be seen, where the path of totality will be, what time it will happen. None of this have you done, right? You can. The door is open, but you don't. You can't.
That is hilariously backwards.
That's awesome.
I still got a couple minutes. So that is post-diction, not prediction. And actually, we can see Polaris below the equator at times, which is also a geometric impossibility on the globe. And this is where...
Not at all. You can see it due to refraction and due to elevation. So at maximum, about 1.5 degrees south at high elevation. That's it. Plus Polaris is about 0.5 degree off of the center of rotation. So those three things together, you can get about 1.5 degrees south, predicted on the globe. Witsit doesn't cite anything, and he doesn't give any references for farther than that. Samuel Rowbottom did make a claim that it was seen 20 degrees south latitude, but nobody has ever seen where that was at. There was some passing reference maybe to some misunderstanding of a publication somewhere, but no actual person ever said that they could see Polaris at 20 degrees south latitude.
Occam's razor will get thrown out again, and they'll start making excuses, special pleading, post hoc rationalization, etc. Flight times actually use GPS, which use a preferred direction. They make
All right. Alyssum says you should call out Mike Jones. He spent 500 comments on Katz's channel. You mean my other channel, right? Conspiracy Tunes. Running his mouth, even asking for a debate of Might. Okay, I will. Thank you.
Meridian correction. So in the south, they use GPS to get the distances. They make meridian correction.
All right. GPS does not provide distances. It provides latitude, longitude, elevation. Actually, GPS gives you a coordinate system and a three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system. And when we use a GPS device, it does a coordinate transform to latitude, longitude, elevation. But it doesn't. It has no distances in the output for a GPS.
Actually subtracting distances over 69 miles and accounting for the preferred direction of C. Actually, the variant nature of C. I hope we get into that, right? If that's what he's...
So he's making these claims about the variant nature of C, the speed of light. based on a couple things. I'm not going to get into that. I don't have the clips on that. But he cited a couple papers that aren't what he thinks they are.
Specializes in. And then, of course, like I said, gravity is not mass attracting mass. That's archaic. So for the last minute and a half,
As I said earlier, it is.
I'm going to explain this. Most people that claim that the Earth's a globe that flies around the sun, they all bring up Newton, the mass attracting mass. You cannot believe in Newtonian mechanics and the heliocentric model at the same time.
You certainly can. For pretty much everything in our solar system except the perihelion of Mercury, we can use Newtonian mechanics.
This is a fact because the Michelson-Morley experiment did not detect the orbit of the Earth. And
it wasn't meant to measure the orbit of the Earth.
There's a
It's just another lie. And he knows this. He, in fact, later in this debate or in the after show on Matters Now podcast, he quoted the title of the paper, right? And then said, no, they weren't trying to measure the movement of the Earth around the sun. But he just said that it was. That's, again, lying for his audience. These are the things that he's crafted together into this story that he needs to constantly support for the people to hear so that they keep lifting him up on the pedestal.
Force acting on the Earth to cause it to go into a circular motion. You would detect that circular motion with interferometry. That's what the Sagnac effect is. We did not detect the orbit. Einstein.
Now, Michelson-Morley was not set up to measure Sagnac effect. That needs the Sagnac effect or Sagnac effect is proportional to the size enclosed in a ring. Michelson-Morley was an L shape. It's not a ring. It can't measure rotation. It's the wrong device.
Came in and saved the day by saying, oh, well, actually, the Earth is free falling in a linear path in the curvature of space-time in a geodesic path. That's why you couldn't detect it, which means, quite literally, either you pick Newtonian mechanics or the Earth is orbiting around the sun.
Still no.
Cannot have both. And in fact, if you do anything with orbital mechanics or aerospace engineering or anything like that, they use Newtonian mechanics. So if that were to even be true, which actually you treat it as an ellipse from our position, that would be evidence for a stationary Earth, quite literally.
So that is the it's wrong, but again, it's the false dichotomy, right? And he does like that one. Well, if your thing is shown to be wrong, then by default, Witsit's thing is true. No, not at all. That's not the case. It could be. Let's just spitball. It could be you didn't understand something, Witsit.
Because if the Newtonian mechanics was true, the Earth cannot be orbiting around the sun. So it's very perplexing as to why people bring that up. Of course, also, it doesn't have a time variable. Gravity would have to be instant. You would have to have instantaneous action at a distance.
That wasn't part of the proposal. That's not actually part of gravitation, the law of gravitation. There's no proposed mechanism for it. And laws don't have proposed mechanisms. Snell's law doesn't say why light refracts. Ohm's law doesn't say why there's electrical resistance. Same for Faraday's law. Same for Ampere's law. Same for the ideal gas law. None of them have a why in there. Why do ideal gases act this way? That's a whole different topic. But the ideal gas law says this is how they act. The law of gravitation says this is how they act. Put a mass here, put a mass here. The force between them is this. That's it.
It's just like Newton said. He didn't even propose a cause. He said it must be God doing it.
Yeah, he didn't propose a cause. Laws don't have a cause.
Et cetera, et cetera. So I know that was a lot. I try not to go too fast. We can get more into the specifics, but Occam's razor is, in the last 10 seconds, obviously that the Earth is a stationary topographical plane and that the Earth is in the center of the cosmos. Everything moves around us for all recorded history. Oh my gosh, the false dichotomy again. He didn't provide any evidence for flat Earth, but he just says, Occam's razor says it must be flat. That's it. That's all he has. He had an opportunity to present evidence for flat Earth, but he didn't, right? Everything he did was me not understand globe, therefore flat. That's it. That's all he had. He made a claim about his main thing, the electromagnetic field. Wrong claim by his citation, therefore flat. No. All right.
That was. What do you think? All right, I've got a few more. That's his intro. William did good. William got him worked up a little bit, and William had his stuff ready. He really did. So all right, let's go to. I'm going to go to James May curve. This is beautiful.
Kango 44, $10. Question for Witsit. I assume they're saying 2011, because they wrote 20,111. But 2011, James May TV presenter flew in a U-2 spy plane to 70,000 feet, and the curvature of the Earth is clearly visible. Is James May part of the conspiracy?
Oh man, dude. The geometry of your model says you don't see the curvature of the Earth from 70,000 feet, bro. Why do you guys say stuff like that?
Why do you have to lie, Austin? Why do you have to lie? Let's see here. Let's go to an actual prediction of the how much you should see, how much curve you should see from different elevations. Thank you, Walter Bislin, for this. There's the link to it. So we got to go to. So this is the actual math for what should be seen, and it varies based on camera and elevation. Those are the main things here. I got to switch to imperial units. Where's it at? Oh my goodness. Does it not in there? I thought it was. I usually do it in I definitely prefer doing science in metric, but anyway, all right. James May, 70,000 feet. Got to convert feet to sheep lengths, and then sheep lengths to meters. All right, 21,336. All right, well, there it is. There's the prediction for the globe. It's not a lot of curve, but it's not zero curve, as he just said. So there is the actual prediction for the globe. Now, this is the camera, right? You see the diagonal field of view. We don't know any particular camera, but if you have a wider field of view, here's 91 degrees. Really wide cameras start to have significantly more barrel distortion. So you don't want to look at them or use them very much.
You have to actually make tons of assumptions to explain how those are all illusions.
Yep. So now I got two more of this one.
So no, he's not in on it. Depends on what camera he uses. I can make my
So this is about James May again.
sidewalk look curved. I can make my desk look curved. If you impose curvature with the lens, your own model says you wouldn't see it from that height. So
Again, there's the lie. So, oh, there's the units. All right. Thank you, Justin. So our own model says you would see it right there. So Austin lied again. Who's surprised? Nobody's surprised that Austin lied again. It is his thing. It's his shtick.
you wouldn't see the curvature from 120,000 feet. You wouldn't see the curvature from 62 miles.
Okay, 100,000 feet. Let's go to units here. What would you see at 120,000? Let's go to meters. Oh, you'd see it. Of course, we're going higher. From 60, what do you say, 62 miles, right? So let's go to statute miles, 60 miles. There you go, 96 meters. And I'll bring the this is too far. I'll bring it back towards, I don't know where it was, but there you go, 50 degrees. There you go. You should see it. Why you gotta lie, Witsit? I know why you gotta lie.
And then when you have like incredibly famous theoretical physicists from your side, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, come out and explain this with specificity, or the person that runs the world
Explains it with specificity. He provided no specifics. He just said it looked flat. So this is an appeal to authority fallacy. Let me see if I got my card right here. I never let that appeal to authority doesn't ever get very far down on this here. So, and the next part is quite something. There's the appeal to authority fallacy for you, Austin. Neil deGrasse Tyson is your authority. You love him. He's your favorite. I don't care. He's just another guy. He's not as smart as the people in the chat. But listen to the authority that Witsit puts on Neil deGrasse Tyson, his very favoritist.
the world's biggest planetarium, explain.
It's the 10th biggest planetarium.
You wouldn't even see it from the ISS. Show all the math.
Show all the math. Let me. I interrupted. Let's listen to his whole thing here.
ISS, show all the math. You guys throw them under the bus. So do we believe the main 20,000 feet? You wouldn't see the curvature from 62 miles. And then when you have like incredibly famous theoretical physicists from your side, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, come out and explain this with specificity, or the person that runs the world's biggest planetarium, explain, you wouldn't even see it from the ISS. Show all the math. You guys throw them under the bus. So do we believe the mainstream and it's so obvious what the Earth is, or do we believe everyone that undermines the mainstream because they feverishly fight crazy flat earthers? It's not really adding up. So no,
what you believe is the actual application of the model. Now, Witsit lied about Neil showing with specificity. He got wrong. Fine, not a big deal, about the 10th largest planetarium. Said that he runs it. I think he's a figurehead. Don't know. But how much of the daily operations is Neil doing at the Hayden Planetarium? My guess is it's a little, but anyway. And then says, with the math. Never did Neil show the math. But I'll show you the math, Austin. Here's the math. This is the actual math. Now, do you wonder, well, where's the math? Good old Walter Bislin always includes the math, right? So you go ahead, Austin. If you think it's wrong, you are invited to come on in here, show the math, analyze the math. If you think it's wrong, show the incorrectness of the math for the globe. And since you think that this is wrong, Austin, you have what, Austin?
You make a positive claim, you have the burden of proof.
Yep, you have the burden of proof, Austin, to show that this is wrong. Because this is the math that nobody else showed, that you never looked at, and Neil did not ever show. So, oh yeah, he's not a theoretical physicist. He's an astronomer, right? Okay, I won't fault him for that. Getting his exact title or a thing isn't that big of a deal. Whether or not the Hayden Planetarium is the 10th largest or the largest, not a big deal. What is a big deal is he never showed the math. Neil never showed the math. It's strictly an appeal to authority fallacy.
we didn't see the curvature from 70,000 feet. We've been to 120,000 feet and not seen the curvature.
And there's another lie. So, and here we can just, so Dwayne Kellum, a flat earther, sent a balloon 220,000 feet. Here's the video. This is a flat earther's video. Dwayne and Jaron have done these things together, but here it is. There's the curvature. This is with a lens that is a rectilinear lens. You want to see whether or not that lens adds curve? Here it is. Here's the actual analysis from a third party showing the curve, the barrel distortion or lack of barrel distortion of that lens right there. But it's even worse than that for them. This does go above and below the center of frame. So barrel distortion is opposite on opposite sides of the center of frame. The direction of the curve is the same on both sides. So again, Witsit lied about not seeing the curve, or about seeing flat at 120,000. Every single time that Witsit has shown flat from high altitude balloons, it's with a barrel distortion lens, a GoPro. Every time. Witsit, get a video from 120,000 feet and show the actual lens. You won't.
Okay, but just basically claiming you see in a plane is ridiculous. Your model does not claim that. It claimed you wouldn't see it over 60 miles.
Everyone just heard you contradict yourself. You can have the last word.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that I think that it would be obvious that the Earth is a sphere, even at the surface of the Earth.
So this is important. They're going on about where the globe predicts that you should see the curve, right? So Austin claims that Neil presented math for 60 miles. He didn't. Austin claims that we claim that you would not see it. And now, what are you claiming, Austin? What do you think in your ever so wise analysis? Austin, what do you think? This is what Austin now thinks you should see according to the globe model.
So what I'm saying is that I think that it would be obvious that the Earth is a sphere, even at the surface of the Earth, with things like engineering. I think you would be able to see it over like even shorter increments of plane survey data, right? When we actually use plane survey data up to 100 square miles. So I'm saying you would actually see it with things like the autolights and stuff like that. We don't see it. Provably don't see it. We don't see left, right curve.
Provably we see it. Here we go. Reciprocal zenith angles, Baron Rutledge. Here it is. Here's this video on TikTok.
A view of the...
All right, so he went to the salt flats, did this. So there he's measuring the reciprocal zenith angle to that one. And then he's changing the head from one side to the other and putting the target on the opposite side. Puts down the measurements there in a diagram, gives his notebook. Now, he sent me all the details. I copied it all down, and I put it into a spreadsheet. So can you see the curve of the Earth from the surface? You absolutely can see it. Here's the spreadsheet that I put it in. You're all free to go look at it. He measured it right there. 15.2 arc seconds of reciprocal zenith angle over 180 degrees. So there you go. Provably, Witsit, provably.
Curvature at all. But again, my point is very simple, that your model does not claim you would see curvature from a plane.
Lying again.
So everyone that's still claiming they saw curvature from a plane, which I just flew like 7 times, I promise you did not.
He flew like 7 times.
Okay, 100%.
Why not? That's a weird thing to say.
I know for a fact that no one in here has seen curvature from a plane. I know many pilots, including ones that were in the military. They say that the Earth absolutely does not curve from a plane.
Oh, well, I guess we could test that too, right, Austin? You know, Austin, if you watched some of my stuff, you know, or paid attention when we were in debates together, you know, you could, you know, not make a fool of yourself, but here we are. There it is. This is from Wolfie 6020. This is from the airplane he's flying at 46,000 feet. Curve is visible. You're going to say it's from a fisheye lens. Well, the same curve above center frame, the same curve below center frame. You're going to claim that it's from the hangar. Sorry, not from the hangar, from the windshield. Oh, wrong video there. Here you go. Here's Wolfie in his... in the hangar where the airplane lives. There's the bottom girder there is curved, and the other one, let's see, he shows both girders, but the bottom one is straight and the top one is curved, or the middle one is curved. And this is now through the windscreen. Both are the curve is the same. Curved one is curved, the straight one is straight, and we can see here at the very end, maybe not in this one. Yeah, anyway, it was a left to right compression. So there it is. So all of the excuses, fisheye claims, gone. Windscreen claim, gone. Neil deGrasse Tyson, all appeal to authority fallacy. What should how much should you see at 46,000 feet? Well, Walter Bislin did it too. Overlaid it. It matches. So Austin lied again.
And no, his question said that he showed everyone the curve, meaning he had to have videoed it. So I did hear the question. And again, if you guys think there's a ball, that's cool. But we've sent high altitude balloons up 120,000 feet showing.
Where? I'd like to see them, Austin, without a barrel distortion lens.
That there isn't curvature. So if you're claiming you saw it from 30,000 feet, something's not adding up, right?
All right. There's the James May. Now I sent an email to Will, but it's probably late for him, so nothing from him. Let's see. Witsit says you can't go to Antarctica, but he also says his family members have been there. Flat Earth Dave says you can't go there, but he says that he's spoken with some of the people that use his app that were there. They also say that they know a former NASA employee that was stationed in Antarctica. Weird. Apparently you can go there. They never address, they just don't want to address the actual evidence for it. They just want to say things because they have this story that they have to keep going. So, all right. Retrograde. The retrograde was pretty good. Absolutely demolishes Flat Earth with, again, first law.
I'm going to talk for a second now. You didn't concede to the retrograde. You claimed retrograde proves we move around the sun, even though there's a kinematic equivalence with retrograde, even according to relativity. That's absolutely.
There's no kinematic according to relativity. That's not the same thing.
Completely not true. Parallax, aberration, and retrograde, kinematic equivalents all work with the Earth being stationary.
Again, kinematic isn't causal. It's just basically a coordinate transform.
Would you like to concede retrograde doesn't prove the Earth orbits the sun?
No, absolutely not, because what the globe model predicts is the retrograde movement, right? We could predict that even if we didn't see it, right? If we imagine just a brand new planet.
Wait, whose TikTok is gone? This is Alyssum. You put Dwayne's video link in the chat. Oh, mctune.net. Just search for Dwayne. That's where that is. Yeah, and you go to YouTube and search for Dwayne Kellum. He sent up a whole bunch of the later videos. He sends up a better camera. So look at those. Yeah, I like Austin's. I've flown a plane 7 times, bro. Oh, the surveyors. Baron Rutledge? Oh, but I just played the video from it. How could that be? It's mctune.net/RZA has a link directly to Baron's video on TikTok. So you should be able to get it there. But TikTok is... Sorry. TikTok is weird because people will get mad and then report channels. It doesn't matter. Both sides, channels are going down constantly because if you just get enough reports, channel's gone. So TikTok is super trigger happy on getting rid of channels. And they don't care. Think about this. There's a bunch of monetized people on TikTok. They don't give a damn. They'll just delete your channel. Whatever. So, all right. Yeah, TikTok is a mess. It's where you go if your brain can't think more than 60 seconds at a time.
That joined our solar system. We could predict the motion it would move. We would predict what retrograde motion we would see with that new planet. It's a predictive. It has predictive capability.
So does a geocentric model.
No, it doesn't, Austin.
It absolutely does. It's called
have said multiple times, your entire model is founded on the fact that, yeah, we see it multiple times in the sky, so we can maybe make some predictions about it, but we can't
Dude.
really do any further than that because
It's
we
called
don't
the
know what it is. We don't know why it's moving. We don't know where it's going. We don't know anything about it. We just know we see it. We know more than that. We see it, but we also know more.
It's called the Tychonic model. Okay. And it absolutely has the same exact kinematic predictive capability for retrograde.
I told you. I told you early on, listen when he says kinematic.
This is very basic stuff. If you would like to read a paper on it, I'm happy to send it to you, right? It's called the Neo-Tychonian Newtonian Machian Analysis of Planetary Motion. It's not complicated. Well, now
the name is long and weird. I think he got a couple too many in there though. Let's hear what he says.
If you would like to read a paper on it, I'm happy to send it to you, right? It's called the Neo-Tychonian Newtonian Machian Analysis of Planetary Motion. It's not complicated. Well, now, so you're wrong. If you think retrograde proves the Earth's orbiting the sun, I wouldn't be talking down to so many people like flat earthers are just ignorant. That's very basic stuff. There's a kinematic equivalence according to relativity. So that means all...
It's not according to relativity. Relativity doesn't have any kinematic equivalence like that for the solar system. That's not what it's not what relativity does.
Astronomical observations can be validly explained from a central position. Go read some Stephen Hawking. He'll tell you the same thing.
So the actual name is Newtonian Machian Analysis of Neo-Tychonian Model of Planetary Motions. That's the actual name. And there it is. Okay, I have the paper here that I'll bring up in a minute here, but I have a couple other of his retrograde things.
Gotcha. So I will acknowledge what you're saying. The first thing you said, what was that model that you described that would display the retrograde
It's called the
motion?
Neo-Tychonic model or Neo-Tychonian model.
Gotcha. And you will admit you didn't explain what that model was in this.
I did already explain.
This is super important. So the part earlier was him explaining it. Okay. I'm going to bring the paper up and then we're going to examine it.
Didn't explain what that model was in this.
I did already explain it. I said,
oh, you explained it. Do you think everyone in this debate, or
yes,
most people would understand what you were saying?
Yeah, and I'll repeat what I said already.
Gotcha. So everyone who's listening right now, if you don't already understand what the Neo-Tychonian whatever the hell model that Witsit just described is, if you don't already understand what it is, then he knows he's taking advantage of you.
I love that. Exactly. Austin did not explain it. He did not. And the reason why will be clear in a second.
Okay, so I already said what it is, which is the Neo-Tychonic model is all the planets moving around the sun as that whole system moves around the Earth. I did explain that if you can just think about it for a second.
So moves around, so all the planets are go around the sun and the sun moves around the Earth. That's his explanation. Now, from that, what will a flat earther think? What did he just describe to a flat earther? Sun moving around. That's what he just described. That's what important, because we're going to look at that paper in a second.
You would know that would give you the exact same explanation for why the planets look like they're going backwards in retrograde. It's called the Neo-Tychonic system. Tycho Brahe's system, of course, was here before any other heliocentric model. It's a slightly updated using Machian principle. Here's the paper. Can I share the screen? You're just showing your. Can I share my screen to the paper, please?
Yes. Let me stop sharing.
But to be fair, you may have missed it, but I absolutely did explain that. And if you think about it, it makes
no sense at all is the next thing. There's no plausible mechanism for it.
The Newtonian Machian Analysis of Neo-Tychonian Model of Planetary Motions. It was published by the European Journal of Physics. Okay, and anyway, and it's not even like that. It's not that complicated.
So that was it. He brought up the paper. That's all he wants to show.
Please don't freeze again. Okay. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying?
He stopped showing it. All he did was highlight the title. Do you know why?
thing. If all the planets moved around the sun and then the sun was moving around the Earth from the Earth's position, as the planets move around the sun, it would look like they're going backwards from our perspective, which is the same explanation the heliocentric model has for retrograde.
All right, well, we should have a look. We should have a look. And I got that, Justin Frakes. Thank you. I probably will have a look at that in a second. But here it is. Here's the paper. Newtonian Machian analysis of the Neo-Tychonian model of planetary motions. So it's very similar to Tycho Brahe, his model with the Earth in the center. But I'm going to move down to somewhere that he did not want to show you. Remember earlier when he said that he said that Newtonian mechanics doesn't work, and that you can't use Newtonian mechanics, and also that he says that that mass doesn't attract mass, and gravity, all that. Well, I don't know. This equation here, 3.1. Does that equation look familiar to anybody? F equals negative, even got that right. G, what is that? M1, M2 over, this is brilliant, the absolute value of R1 minus R2 cubed times R1 minus R2. So this R1 minus R2 is a radius. The R1, R2 cubed in the denominator is a radius. Those two will cancel. So you will then have, that'll just give you the sign is what that's for. That's why it's in there. So yeah, G M1, M2 over R squared. That's Austin's paper that he just brought up, but did not scroll down to. He dare not have his people look at this right here. His citation says, gravity, according to Newton's law of gravity, the force between two massive objects reads, which leads to a potential. That's gravitational potential, right? This is the gravitational field. Anyway, now this gets worse for Austin in here, as if it could get worse. Here is the the trajectories of Earth and Mars in the heliocentric system over the period of 2 years. Blue and red lines represent Earth and Moon's orbits respectively, and it has a scale, astronomical units. Of course, one astronomical unit is about the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Now we scroll down a little bit here. More talk of gravity. Oh dear. And here we have the trajectory of Mars as seen from the Earth over the period of 7 years. Calculation of this trajectory is done numerically in the heliocentric system. So it was done numerically and then coordinate transformed. Right? And the distance is in astronomical units. 1 astronomical unit is 93 million miles or 150 million kilometers. And now we move down to one more here. More talk of gravity. This is right here, the trajectory of the sun in yellow and Mars in red, moving in Earth's pseudo potential over the period of 7 years. Calculation of the trajectory performed numerically in the geocentric system. So it moved it to the geocentric system in this calculation. No, his people would not have picked up on this, but if they did analyze it, it's very important. The distance between the Earth in blue and the sun in yellow is 1 astronomical unit, about 93 million miles, 150 million kilometers. And then, of course, there's the orbit of Mars doing the spirograph. Now, this paper does not provide a plausible mechanism for why it's doing those spirograph motions. It doesn't. It really doesn't, Austin. This is an embarrassing paper for Austin. This is the first law of Flerf. This is like the peak first law of Flerf right here. This right here. Because I don't think it's correct, but fine, Austin, let's take your claim here and make sure we do understand it. You claim that the Earth is a sphere and that the sun is 93 million miles away. And that the sun orbits the Earth 93 million miles away. None of this. You claim this is wrong, because you claim this is true. Seriously, Witsit, you're an idiot. Austin, you're stupid. Or you know and you're lying to steal money and fool your stupid, gullible followers into paying you to lie in debates and in your live streams and sell your snake oil so that you can have you don't have to go to work because you can't anymore. Because if anybody Googles Austin Witsit, they'll see that he's an idiot, flat earth grifter. Your paper shows it right here. This is your citation, right? This is from Popov, Konstantin, or Luka Popov, not Konstantin Mies. But this particular one has been cited by Robert Bennett, Dr. Robert Bennett, that he talked about in this debate. Of course, he's definitely always talks about the credentials, and also Dr. Robertson Jenis. These are geocentrists. Citing them does not support flat Earth. Citing them supports the Earth as a globe. Witsit. Austin, you're a con man. That's what you are. You're a con man. You don't want your followers to read that paper because they would instantly find out that this paper does not support flat Earth. It doesn't give an explanation for anything on flat Earth. It doesn't give an explanation for anything for geocentric either, because it doesn't provide a plausible mechanism. But that doesn't even matter. You don't even get that far. So, all right, let's see here. If does this? I want to. Can I play it here? So somebody Justin sent. Where'd it go? Come on. There it is. I'll bring this up here. So Justin Frank sent this. Try to get this to work. So I don't know how to make this start. Oh, there it is. Run. All right. So there is in the middle. There's the Earth. This is what Austin is claiming. Right. This is his claim. Right. Earth is a globe. Earth rotates daily. Right. And there you can see these different planets coming in closer and farther. There's the sun coming by. This doesn't help you, Austin. This is what you're claiming. What an idiot. What an idiot, Austin. Oh my gosh, you're so stupid.
So your entire argument is that everything is moving the exact way our gravity predicts, except we want to be the inertial ones. Is that your prediction?
First of all,
Yeah.
we have
That's what you just
scientifically,
said, right?
we've already scientifically and experimentally proven that the Earth is a stationary lab frame with interferometry.
No, you didn't.
Your gravity
Wait,
doesn't predict the
I think I
planetary.
asked a yes or no question, but I was thinking you're saying yes. So
Yeah, the
what
Earth,
you're saying
the Earth is
is
inertial
everything,
provably. That's what I said.
everything looks just like as if they were a bunch of planets orbiting the sun. It all looks like that, and it very well might be that way. Also, we're not orbiting the sun.
Well, no, actually, it only looks that way because we created the system over time, right?
No, it looks that way because it looks that way. Then we developed the model based on the way it looks and the way that we measured things and based on observations. You could do the same, but you won't.
And it still doesn't even work. We have the Mercury perihelion shift. It doesn't work.
It works. Why do you got to lie?
Doesn't even work with your model or with any version of gravity that's ever been proposed.
It works with relativity. Why do you got to lie?
Right? It doesn't work. But yes, what we saw was that there are something called stars and then planets, planae, wandering stars. They move a little different and they move seemingly backwards from our perspective. I explained two options. One is that we actually measure the motion, right, in relation to the background stars. So if the planets periodically slow down in relation to the background stars, it would look like they're going backwards. It would cause retrograde. Secondly, it could just be that the planets move in relation to the sun that moves around the Earth, and that would give you retrograde. So now we're going to go to the actual empirical measurements on the Earth that tried to measure the motion of the Earth that is claimed and prove that the Earth is not orbiting the sun, and Michelson-Morley requiring Newtonian mechanics be thrown out.
So Michelson-Morley was not to measure the orbit. The orbit was already known, and it was a test of the ether, and that's why it was a failure. So let me show you here. Again, I like this is all for you. Everything on the website here is for you to use. Earth around the sun here. So how do we know? Well, in Einstein's book, Austin likes to quote, and I think he's kind of stopped quoting it, but Austin likes to quote a short passage by Einstein talking that things like the Michelson-Morley experiment are terrestrial experiments that could not measure the motion of the Earth around the sun. And that means they're terrestrial, that they don't look outside the Earth. And so this is not much of a surprise, really, when in our regular everyday experience, we cannot feel constant linear motion. If you're on an airplane and it's smooth air, you don't know how fast you're going if you're not looking outside. If you look outside, well, then you could do things to measure your motion. But you close all those windows, you don't know. If you go in a higher airplane, you can be even better than that. So put on some earphones that are noise canceling. Don't open the windows. Get on a Concorde or something high like that. Without you don't know. You might feel some movement here and there. You might think you're on a car. We can't feel it, and there's no way with nothing else to refer to measure motion. But anyway, Einstein 2 pages earlier said that there were two things that makes us certain that the Earth is orbiting the sun. Number one is aberration here. So I'll drop this in here in the chat here for you all. So aberration is James Bradley, 1727 he published it. And so for all of the flat earthers that claim that this is a big satanic cabal to hide the shape of the Earth, well, James Bradley was a pastor. And here's his paper, a letter from the Reverend Mr. James Bradley. I love the writing here. Savilian professor of astronomy at Oxford. So if you look at the hold on. Oh, I didn't have it up for the other stuff either. Professor, the S's are long S's, so they look like an F. Astronomy, again, the S looks like an F without a bar. I love that. So, all right. Anyway, there's the site that I wasn't showing you. So yeah, James Lemaitre was a Catholic priest up until about the 1900s. Even well into the 1900s, a huge amount of the exploration of the Earth's shape and the Earth's movement around the sun and all of these things, the cosmology a lot of them were from people of faith, and often people that were specifically had high positions in the church. So when the huge portions of the foundation of cosmology are people of faith. So to say it's all to hide God is an absolute lie. So anyway, yeah, I mean, if you look at the people that were in it, they weren't atheists. They weren't Satanists. Seriously, it's all to hide God. They're Satanists. They're evil cabal. No. All right. Anyway, James Bradley measured the aberration. Aberration is where they looked at a star, and throughout the course of a year, it traced a small ellipse in the sky. They were certainly, it was small, but it was well within their ability to measure it. It's about 20.5 arc seconds wide is the ellipse that it traced. They discovered that the ellipse was it at on the celestial equator. The ellipse went to a line, and at the celestial poles, the ellipse goes to a circle. And that there confirms our movement and its relationship between the speed of light and the speed of Earth's movement around the sun. Then the other thing that Einstein mentioned was the annular Doppler shift. He said he used different words for it, but that's what matters. A little bit of the history of it. Fizeau measured red shift in stars. Huygens measured 5 methods to view Fraunhofer lines on stars. So this is the buildup. Huygens measured the velocity of a star moving away from the Earth based on the shift. And here we go. Vogel and Schneier in 1887, same year as Michaels and Morley, measured the annual change in periodic change in the measured radial velocity of the stars. I may have typed that a little weird. Radial velocity of stars due to Earth's rotation around the sun. This is what Einstein was referring to. Do I have the I don't have the quote from him here. Anyway, this was written in German, published in Germany. It's about 300 pages. So certainly something that Einstein would have easier access to than a lot of people, being he's in Germany, speaks German. PhD Tony can have some of my super chats back based on how you pronounce Huygens. So you're not talking about, I mean, here's Huygens. This isn't Huygens. That's not Huygens. Anyway, so those are the two things that Einstein mentioned, and I'm seeing Charlie says, don't forget stellar parallax. Well, right there. So those are the two things that Einstein mentioned, but parallax is a third thing that we know, that the Earth is orbiting the sun, and it's orthogonal. This is a cool thing. It's orthogonal to the other one. Anyway, these three different ones so far are seasonal. They're all 6 months apart to the extremes: the redshift, the parallax, and the aberration. And two of them are orthogonal. I forget which offhand. So anyway, 1839, Friedrich Bessel measured parallax of that star, and since then thousands of stars have had their parallax measured. Okay. So PhD Tony says, you caught me working at another screen listening in the background. Okay, so yeah, got it. He thought I was trying to say Huygens, which may be wrong. I think he was Dutch. Am I right? He's Dutch? Anyway, and yeah, there's no chance I'm going to get it right, but I'm trying to say it at least right. Anyway, then, so parallax. I just have those three. The fourth one that I refer to, I just haven't put on this page yet, is Romer's measurement of the gap in time of Io, one of Jupiter's moons, being occulted by the shadow of Jupiter. And so they knew in the 1800s very precisely, is before that, it was the 1600s, very precisely what time the Jupiter's moon Io would go into the shadow of Jupiter. And on one side, that this was a surprise to them at the time, and one side of the sun when we're closer to Jupiter, versus on the other side, or almost the other side, that distance, that extra distance is it took like 8 to 10 minutes longer for the shadow, for the moon to go into the shadow. Because of the distance, the extra distance on the other side of the orbit of the sun. It's absolutely magnificent. Why would there be a difference in flat Earth? No reason. Nothing. It's crazy. Let's see. Flaming Mo. Love that. I love the Flaming Mo. I love the Flaming Mo song. I'm German. Huygens looks pretty Dutch to me, but you pronounce it Huygens. All right, well, let's look it up. Let's look it up together. Christian Huygens. All right, do we have a pronunciation?
Christian Huygens.
There you go. I totally got it wrong. It's not Hoy.
Christian Huygens.
Huggins. See, that actually sounds a little more like Huggins to me. I don't know. All right. I think I have one or two more on Witsit's parallax or a retrograde. I mean, he demolished it, so it almost feels bad, but nah.
Your entire argument is that everything is moving the exact way our gravity predicts, except we want to be the inertial one.
Okay, we did that one. One more.
And Einstein saying, turns out everything that happens on the Earth is going to happen like the Earth is in a state of rest. You'll never be able to disprove it's in a state of rest. You'll never be able to measure or detect the Earth moving through space.
And I went over all that. So Einstein never said that. He said terrestrial, which means if you don't look outside the Earth. So, all right. I've got a couple more things, but I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm gonna say, I'll give you my take on the debate. This was Will's first debate on in front of an audience. I thought he did pretty well. He presented evidence. He presented measurements. He tested flat Earth and falsified it. Witsit did not provide any evidence for flat Earth. All of the evidence he did try to provide was misunderstandings of the globe. Standard stuff. When asked for specific evidence like the eclipse, he did not answer it. He deflected. As he must in order to keep the lie alive. Retrograde motion. He gave what I knew what he was going to do. He has to, I knew that he's going to go for the geocentric answer, which doesn't provide a mechanism and it doesn't help flat Earth. So anyway, that was it. I think Will did a good job. I will try to have him come on here at some point in the future. But Will, welcome to the community. It's good to have you. You did a great job. And Witsit needs all of the smash downs he can get. And you delivered. Of course, a lot of his, as is always the case, flat earthers run a victory lap afterwards, after getting destroyed. And this is very important. Never once did Austin try to produce any evidence for flat Earth. You cannot establish that the Earth is flat without trying to produce evidence for it. He never even tried. Yes, the geocentric model assumes a globe. So anyway, that's it for now. I've got Cody coming up on Cody Payne coming up on Thursday. I might try at 8 p.m. I might try to get to Corey earlier in the day on Thursday if my schedule allows. So thank you very much for joining. I'll see you all next time. Here we go.
MC2, drop that beat.
All right. Let it flow. Let yourself go. So I know that is the tempo.
So
You know what? You're right. I missed a couple super chats and some member chats. Yep. Sorry. PhD Tony says, I am stunned by the sheer temerity and mendacity of it all. If Witsit's claims were even approximately true, all scientists would be flat earthers. Yes. Eddie Reese says stupidity is a deliberate cultivation of ignorance. And then Nerd Alert says another shameless, blatant lie by Witsit. Did you catch it? Tycho Brahe's model does not precede all heliocentric models. Brahe was born after the death of Copernicus. Oh. Was that... Okay. I forgot about that. I'm gonna... Hold on. So, but a little bit of a disconnect I'm having right now. Hold on a second. 1601. Having a look. Let's see. Copernicus died in 1543. Oh yeah. Brahe was born in 1546. There it is. Well, all right. So good. Yeah. I missed that. So yeah, Copernicus proposed that at the end of his life. Church didn't like it. You're right. Just like the flat earth religion doesn't like Copernicus. And then Tycho. Anyway, he was, let's see, what was it? He was an astronomer of the Renaissance. So no, he wasn't, all right. Anyway, was forced by King Christian IV to leave Denmark. All right. Built-in astronomer. All right. Thank you. That's good to know. So, all right. Khwarizmi says, sending this just to keep you up a minute later and to hear you pronounce my name. Yeah, you got me. Khwarizmi? Khwarizmi. I don't know. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Here we go.
MC2, drop that beat.
All right. Let it flow. Let yourself go. So I know that is the tempo.
So, yeah, let's do this. So
let's do this. Yo, it's MC2, the debunking tycoon. I shatter flat earthers, make them face the moon. Your attempts are decent, but they'll swoon in the face of my logic like a deflated balloon.
Oh, MC2, the one to soon cartoons. On your real say, send it close to their dues. Your theories are like old brooms, sweeping ignorance or just spreading the fumes.
FDFB stands for fumbling the facts, evidently. I drop truth bombs so splendidly. Your approach is soft, mine's unrelenting. I bring the science while you're just venting.
MC2, the thing with silver spoons. I tackle pseudoscience, make them change their tune. You're the sidekick, I'm the room. When it comes to debunking, I'm the room.
But hey, FTFE, we share the creed to educate and debunk the plant the seed. Though in this rap, it's clear indeed I've got the upper hand than word and deed. All right, hold on a second. The Zoom call died. Everything died. No.